Hello out there. Oh, I don't have much of a voice today. We're on the air. I didn't realize it was this bad until I started talking. Oh, that's okay. That's okay. It was a bit of a long weekend. We'll see. Good morning. Good morning, YouTube. Good morning, Zaptot stream. Hope everybody's having a great Monday morning. It's a great Monday morning here today. Another beautiful day in the prairies. Got some beautiful faces in the house this morning. We got Johnny. We got BTC Backpacker. Can we discuss the state of the government tyranny going on lately? Should we? Bodie, good morning, my friend. Jason, good to see you. Good to see you. Okay. Well, it is Monday. It is the Daily Bitcoin Journey. The Daily Bitcoin Journey is a show focused on actionable and logical discussion for Bitcoiners and for future Bitcoiners. That's what we're here for, and that's what we're going to do. Crypto Heathen is over in Zaptot stream. Good morning, my friend. Everyone enjoying all the FUD out there. Holy, you're not kidding. Adam's in the house. Good morning, Matt. Pomp. Hey, Pomp's back. Just came back from Uzbekistan. Good to have you back, my friend. Adrian. Top of the morning. I want to live. I want to give. I've been a miner for a heart of Bitcoin. Okay, well, let's get things going here. It's a good way to start the show. Beautiful country, Uzbekistan. I don't think I've ever even considered Uzbekistan in my life before. Where is that? Uzbekistan. That's got to be in the Middle East somewhere. I'm guessing. It might be a bad guess, but that's a guess. Anyways, you can tell by my voice that it is Monday morning. Had a fun weekend. Went to a grand opening, a place called Shanks, which is it's one of like two in Canada. So it's an outdoor driving range. Think of like a Topgolf, which historically Topgolfs never have come to Canada because of the climate here. Obviously, it's winter for half the year. But this one is similar to Topgolf. It's pretty cool. It was a opening day there and got to go check that out. Very cool. So it's going to be open all year long. Summertime, wintertime. They got some heaters pumping in there, and they positioned to be hitting golf balls next winter, when it's minus 30 here. Hopefully it works. It's beautiful though. I think he's going to have a lot of success there. Something different. That's what you need to do. You got to take some risks, and that is a big risk. And I really hope that it pays off for him. One of my good friends is the owner of it. So we went there, and then we went to a beer fest. So I am a little bit foggy this morning, as you can probably tell. Beer fest, basically you pay $35. There's a whole bunch of vendors there from the local area, and I'm sure people have been to like a wine fest or a beer fest before, but it's pretty cool. Gets you a pretty good hangover the next day though. That's the shitty thing. It feels like we got a bit of hangover in Bitcoin land right now. There's, as BTC Backpacker says, and as Crypto Heathen says over in the other chat, there's a lot of shit being thrown at us right now. And it's very easy to be positive and cheerful when things are good, when everything's going your way. But when they switch a little bit, that's when you got to give yourself a bit of a check. So that's what we're doing today. We'll start with the metrics, and then we're going to talk about some things within Bitcoin and what we can be doing to basically just tune out the bullshit. That's what we need to be doing. Tune out the BS. Jason says, interesting. There was a bar here called Shanks, all indoor sports bar with mini golf and sims. Interesting. I think the one that he kind of based his business off of is in Calgary. I think there's two of them out there. Outdoor driving range or year-long driving ranges. My path to fire is over on the Zapdos stream. Zap.stream. What a place. I was watching Rabbit Hole Recap on Thursday or Friday, I think it was. And it's just buzzing on there. I think there was like 100 people on Zap.stream watching that show. And there's 2 people who zapped 1 million sats. 2 zaps for 1 million sats each. I think that was a record for them. And they're probably the biggest show in Bitcoin right now. Rabbit Hole Recap. So pretty cool what's happening over there. Let's get to the metrics. So let's see what's going on in the world of Bitcoin today. If we can. There we go. So we're currently block height 841,369. Good number. And if you're transacting on the Bitcoin layer 1 this morning, you're paying 20 sats per rebyte. So it's amazing what has changed in the last 7 days of Bitcoin. And I think that's a pretty good lesson for everybody here, and especially those people who are kind of newer into Bitcoin. Maybe this is your first cycle. Lots can change in a very short amount of time. And I want you to keep that in mind here as we kind of move forward this next 12 months. But things happen fast and you have to be ready for it. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. But like even last week, I think it was 10 days ago now, when we went through the halving. So much buzz, everybody's celebrating, everybody's feeling good. And then this week we just got kicked in the face by everybody. And the fees 10 days ago when the halving happened were about 2,000 sats per VByte. And now they're back to 20. So things happen fast. I think the main takeaway from that would be just never do anything stupid in Bitcoin. Never panic. I've been there before. I've been wanting to send Bitcoin when there was very high transaction fees. And once it goes on for a little while, you think that they're never coming back down. But they always do. That's the beauty of the Bitcoin blockchain is it's all supply and demand. It's probably the closest thing to a free market that we have, the Bitcoin transaction fee market. So let that be a lesson that never panic. They'll always come back down. So the price today has dropped once again, 62,256 US dollars, which is a metric, but also completely irrelevant. 1 year ago, you could have purchased a Bitcoin for 19,197 US dollars. And 4 years ago, $8,800 for one Bitcoin. I was watching a video, maybe I'll try to find it. No, I won't be able to now. But there was a guy from back in 2012. He paid $7 for one Bitcoin. It was in a vending machine. It was like a rigged up vending machine. And they had basically physical Bitcoins in there with an address or a private key that you could unlock for one Bitcoin, $7. He put in some loonies and a $5 bill. I think, or maybe it was in the States. Anyways, $7 for one Bitcoin. So if you're feeling bad about yourself for the price being at 62,000, I think we need a little bit of a check. So Moscow time today, $1 US will get you 1,601 sats. And the Moose Jaw time today, which is the Canadian equivalent to Moscow time. The price, though, in Canada is 84,877 Canadian dollars. And the Moose Jaw time is wrong here, I believe. Let me just double check this. Yes, it is wrong. 1172. Oh, keyboard is disconnected. Oh. There we go. There we go. Okay. Well, what else should we talk about today? Just kidding. Okay, let's get off there. We're trending down. Bitcoin's in big trouble right now. I think that if you're holding any Bitcoin right now, I think that you should really consider looking at other investments, maybe government bonds, maybe the stock market, Apple, NVIDIA, or whatever it's called, even XRP. I think that the best thing you can be doing this week is spending some time looking at ways where you can liquidate all of your Bitcoin, because it's pretty obvious, it's pretty clear that we are trending down and we're heading towards another bear market. We hit our all-time high And I think we're in for a lot of trouble here. So before we crash any further, I think we should actually be looking to liquidate Bitcoin and get into some real assets. Like I said, government bonds, a bunch of cash, and XRP for sure. XRP is, people talk about how good Bitcoin is, but I think that XRP is probably the most underrated asset you can hold right now. Adam says, how many people moved Bitcoin last week and now think that's the cost to move Bitcoin? Yeah, no doubt. But the thing for me is, like, I think a lot of people who get into Bitcoin for the first time, a lot of the exchanges have free withdrawals. So they don't really understand the Bitcoin transaction fees until they actually do some actual transactions in Bitcoin from either consolidating wallets or moving to a friend, whatever it is. I think that most people get into Bitcoin, and including myself. Honestly, I bought Bitcoin for probably a year before I even knew what the mempool, or maybe more than that, what transactions fees were. I just thought that there was kind of like a fixed fee that everybody pays. I knew it was expensive. I just didn't know really how to look for it or what it was or that it changed. So I think that there's a lot more education out there in terms of Bitcoin transaction fees. But until you actually go through a full transaction yourself, where you paste in the address, you set the fee yourself, you look at mempool.space, you look at Bull Bitcoin's new resource for checking the fees, you don't really understand what happens there. And so it takes quite a while to do that, but it's definitely something that you need to know if you're going to be in Bitcoin for the long run here. I was just hoping that there was somebody who happened to be popping into the show today and caught that 1 minute of Bitcoin being dead. But I do think that a lot of people are kind of like in that mindset right now. It's very easy to, like I said, it's very easy to be positive, to be feeling good. When the price is moving up, everything's going your way. But these are the times, these are the weeks where you really need to, we talk about having a stomach for Bitcoin. This is one of those weeks, and it hardly even went down in price. It was just so much happening in terms of the Samurai wallet, and then it was the Phoenix wallet, and then it was the FBI bullshit. And there's been some other stuff as well since we talked last. So we're kind of gonna go around that today. Transmitting Bitcoin at the moment, and zapped 69 sats over in zap.stream from my Path to Fire. What else we got here? So my Path to Fire asked if I'm Peter Schiff. Yeah. And Crypto Ethan says, via Bitcoin news, Russia is banning all non-CBDC cryptocurrencies starting September 1st to protect the Russian ruble. That's interesting. I saw that they were banning crypto. I wasn't sure if Bitcoin was a part of that Russia ban. So anyways, let's get to some news here. And I want to start the show with a quote today. And this is kind of what we're going to talk about today for the most part. So the quote is from BitVolt. And the quote goes, "The real protest is taking Bitcoin into self-custody." The real protest is taking your Bitcoin into self-custody. So we've had some issues with that. On Friday, I think it was after the show, but the Phoenix wallet, the Phoenix wallet decided that they were going to pull their wallet from the App Store, which is very unfortunate, because Phoenix wallet is my favorite wallet outside of the Sparrow wallet, but it's my favorite one for my mobile device. Somehow in Canada here, I'm not exactly sure what's been going on, but Canada is actually still has Wallet of Satoshi, still has Phoenix wallet. And it seems like the most free country on earth, the United States, is the one that's really cracking down on everything right now, which is very interesting. Very interesting. And I didn't really see that coming, honestly. I thought that Canada would be in a lot of trouble in terms of the government coming after Bitcoin, but it's really been the US who's been going ham on Bitcoin. So what do you do in that situation? It seems like both Samurai and Phoenix, obviously, if you had your backup phrase written down in a good place, then that's the point of it. That's why you want to hold your Bitcoin in self-custody, because they're going to ban wallets. They're going to take wallets off the app store. So you need to make sure that wherever your Bitcoin are right now, it's in a wallet that you have 12 words to, and you can swap that back between anywhere. So that's what a lot of people did after their Samurai wallet was stripped. They just took their 12 words, they plunked them into the Sparrow wallet, and they still got their Bitcoin. So I think that that's, something that a lot of people don't really understand is how important that is, how important those 12 words are, and how different that is from any other asset out there. And I was talking to a guy pretty late after Beer Fest. We were talking about just life and what's happening in the world right now between the money, the government stuff, just everything. And I could, when you talk to people and you can kind of see their wheels in their head moving, like they're finally starting to get this. But I think that a lot of people sleep on the 12-word part of Bitcoin and how important that is. Not only for like the censorship aspect of it, where if they pull one wallet, another one spins up and you can just plop those 12 words into that new wallet. But the other thing too is the confiscation aspect of those 12 words. If you really understand Bitcoin and the importance of those 12 words, there's nobody that can take those Bitcoin from you. Nobody. And that's important. That's important. And so kind of what I want to talk about today is I'm going to go through about 5 or 6 things here that we can be doing, I think, for this summer. We're not going to worry too much about the negative stuff. We're going to actually take a different spin on this and see how positive this can be being here right now. So actually, let's get to a little bit of news first. Has anybody seen the Japanese yen? Holy. There's some real I mean, we're feeling kind of bad for ourselves here in Bitcoin, but there's some serious shit going down in like the legacy world right now, legacy system. From my understanding of it, like the Japanese yen is tanking compared to the US dollar. The US dollar still has like the status, even though there's countries like Russia and China who are starting to go around the US sanctions and kind of build their own highways. But the US dollar is still, I think, the reserve currency for the time being. And the Japanese yen is absolutely getting smoked right now compared to the dollar. I'm going to see if I can find an article on here quickly. There was a big bank that went down. I think Friday was it First Republic? Anyways, where is this here? Wasabi Wallet also joins the ranks of Bitcoin wallets exiting the US. So what do you do right now? If you're in the US, what are you doing right now, I guess, to protect yourself? Because I know that there are still some wallets out there, and I saw some really positive things coming out of the Zeus wallet over the weekend. So I'm not sure how many people on here have tried the Zeus wallet. I've tried it myself. It's a little bit, I don't know. I don't know if I was just doing something wrong, but I think that I'm going to look into both the Mutiny wallet and the Zeus wallet. Okay, where is this yen stuff here? How come I'm having a hard time finding this? Sorry, this is what happens on a Monday morning when you're a little bit hungover still from Saturday. Okay. I just want to find a chart of this Japanese yen and show you that. But it sounds like to me, the Japanese yen, they're kind of trapped right now and they don't really have too much that they can do. So the Japanese yen surges after sinking. Oh, it's surging now. Nice. Japanese currency sinks to 160 per dollar before rising to 155. So I'd say the main takeaway from that is that we're going to be in for an interesting summer this year and an interesting year. It's 2024, which means that it's a presidential election year in the US. And if you've been paying attention to anything, every 4 years, every election cycle, there's always some sort of big event that happens. And to me, there's banks going down. The Japanese yen is in big trouble. They're in a place now where they're going to have to do something really stupid. And so they're starting to come after these Bitcoin wallets as part of it, because, you know, the one thing that they're going to try to do here, I think is going to be the theme, is to keep our eyes off of what's happening there. Because when there's too many eyes on it, that's when things move a lot faster. And I mean, it does usually go fast, and that's, you know, part of the market thing. But if you look at the last couple crashes, it hasn't really been a buildup of things. It has been slow, but then all of a sudden it just goes. In the blink of an eye, it just goes. And that could happen any day now. It could happen any day now. So I think most people watching the show, either right now or later, you know, don't have a whole lot invested in their local banks, but definitely something to keep an eye on. And it'll be interesting to see what's going to happen here with Bitcoin price when that happens. But in the long run, we know what's going to happen. So Rock and Roll says, love the Aqua wallet. It's non-custodial. I have to try the Aqua wallet too. So here's what I'm going to tell you today. King, good morning, my friend. Good morning. Good morning. Letha, good morning over in Zap.stream. Crypto Ethan says the Japanese yen is a meme coin now. That's what it looked like. It looked like either a meme coin that had a pump and dump or a bank that crashed. That's what the Japanese yen looks like right now. It's scary for a lot of people. A lot of people are going to be in some serious trouble right now. And, you know, here's what I was thinking about over the weekend, just before we get into the main part of the show today. But here's what I was thinking on the weekend. People get so wrapped up in the day-to-day stuff, the day-to-day news, in terms of the Samurai stuff, the Phoenix wallet, now the Wasabi wallet. And it's very easy to feel down about yourself, especially when the price starts going down too. You start asking yourself questions. You start questioning yourself. But I really think that, you know, we're in such a unique position right now. And even Bitcoiners are really underestimating how much power and influence that we're going to have in the future. Because if you think about Bitcoin and if you think about the dollar, one's moving one direction and one's moving the other direction. And there's a lot of people in the world, a lot of people who have a lot of influence right now, a lot of power, a lot of, like, think of like an owner of a sports team. Let's use that as an example. Think about the owner of a sports team. And they've had a lot of wealth for a lot of years. They've spent a lot of their life building up that wealth, whether they had it passed down from their dad, their grandpa, whatever that is. They have a lot of wealth. But it's in the old system. And I think that a lot of these people, there's going to be a small amount of let's say just sports owners as an example. There's going to be a few of them who have kind of taken the forward approach to this, forward thinking approach, maybe hold some Bitcoin on their balance sheet, maybe just hold some personally as a hedge. But I think that the majority of those people are so entrapped in that system that they're not even going to see what's coming here. And before they realize what's coming here, it's going to be too late for them. Because if you think about it, if Bitcoin gets to what we think it's going to in a year from now, and 2 years from now, and 10 years from now, their dollar isn't going to buy shit compared to the people who are here right now. And so we're going to move through this whole transition into the Bitcoin system. And along the way there, a lot of these people are just going to be completely fucked. Completely. They're going to see their whole life's work, their whole family's life's work, generational stuff, gone to Bitcoin because they thought that this system was going to go on forever. And people like that, they're really good at foreseeing what's coming within their industry. But I feel like a lot of people are just completely missing the fact that we're going to see a full flip where the Bitcoiners who are taking a lot of shit, eating a lot of shit right now, they're going to be the ones who have those sports teams in 10 years from now. That's an example. But we also have to keep in mind that governments change, policy change. Everything changes over time. But the one thing that's not going to change is Bitcoin. And along that way, there's just going to be more and more people, more and more companies, more and more countries who are getting into Bitcoin. And as that whole thing happens, it's just going to be like this. It's going to slowly just flip on its head. And it hasn't started yet. So just keep that in mind. Keep that in mind. Don't worry too much about the price in terms of US dollars. Just focus on getting as many Satoshis as you possibly can right now. Brendan says, Bitcoin is still the sly roundabout way that we take power away from the central banks. They cannot stop it. All they can do is throw FUD. Oh, here we go. Here's some breaking news. Deutsche Bank, 9% down. What's going on there? I didn't see that. That must be breaking news here. So here's what we're going to do. Here's what we're going to do, because I want everybody to focus this summer on a few things. I want you to write down, I actually want you to take some time today and write down on a piece of paper how much Bitcoin you think you're going to need. How much Bitcoin do you think you're going to need for your life? Whether that's 1 Bitcoin, 2 Bitcoin, half a Bitcoin. I want you to write that down. So that's the first part. And I want you to start taking steps to work towards that. So like I said, I got 5 or 6 things here I'm going to talk about that we can be doing this summer in order to really, put ourselves in the driver's seat here. So the first one is obviously buy Bitcoin. And if you're somebody who's just getting into Bitcoin now, my advice would be to take whatever you have, whether that's $1,000, whether that's $10,000, and buy that in one chunk. And do it as soon as you can. Don't wait on this, because these things happen fast. And all of a sudden, you're still going to get Bitcoin one day. You're just going to end up with a lot less of it. And even if you waited 6 months from now, you're going to get probably a fraction of what you're going to get today. So get what you can, and then set up like a monthly or a weekly DCA after that. So first make that first purchase, and then set up like a DCA after that. And I want you to really pay attention to that as well, because with that, you're going to have a bunch of UTXOs. So what I would do is I would get set up with an exchange that you can actually hold Bitcoin on the exchange for when you're DCAing. So use a company like Bull Bitcoin. I think that you actually have to withdraw that off there, but you can use Lightning, you can use Liquid. And as Rock and Roll pointed out here, the Aqua wallet facilitates those. So you can actually buy Bitcoin. Let's say you're buying $100 a week on Bull Bitcoin. You purchase that in Liquid, you move it to your Aqua wallet. And then once you get a significant balance built up in your Aqua wallet, where you're still holding it on your own, that's when you move it into your cold storage. So that's one route. The other route you can take is like in Canada here, those are probably the 2 most known and used exchanges would be Bull Bitcoin and ShakePay. So the flip side of that is you buy $100 every week or $100 every month, whatever you can stomach there, or whatever you can afford, and you hold it on ShakePay. So you hold it up, or you let it accumulate on ShakePay. You don't move it into your cold storage until, let's say, you have 300,000 sats or 400,000 sats, and then you move it off there. So just be careful there. If you are somebody who's DCAing, you really have to pay close attention to how you're withdrawing it from the exchanges. Because if you're doing that improperly, you're going to end up with a lot of future pain from your UTXOs. Because every time you move Bitcoin from your exchange into your cold storage wallet, that counts as 1 UTXO. And when you go to spend those in the future, or you go to do something with that Bitcoin, you're going to pay a lot of Bitcoin fees, transaction fees on that, because you failed to prepare properly. And I don't think it's just a lack of knowledge by a lot of people. That's what it is, including myself. I had no idea that this was a thing until about a year ago. So I just think that the more we can spread this message on how to do this properly, I think it's going to save a lot of people a lot of pain in the future. So think about that. Bitcoin Well also, you can do the same thing for. With Liquid, I'm guessing you're talking about. Diversified UTXOs into diversified wallets. Yeah, so let's talk about that, because the next one here that I want to tell you is to make sure that you have a device, a hardware device. And I recommend the cold card for sure, but there's other good ones out there. I think there's the Seed Signer. I think there's the Blockstream Jade. But if you're somebody who has like a Trezor or a Ledger, I would strongly consider looking into a different option than that. And we've seen these wallets. This is what we're going to expect in the next decade here. We're going to get a lot of attacks. And that's going to be attack on exchanges. That's going to be attacks on wallets, like we've seen, Samurai, Phoenix, Wallet of Satoshi. And we're going to see attacks on devices, companies who are making hardware devices. I really think that they're going to start blocking these hardware devices from coming into countries. And before that happens, you have to make sure that you have one. So I usually tell people once you get to like 1 million sats or 2 million sats, that's when you can look into getting a hardware device. But I would say if you are somebody in Bitcoin, regardless of how much Bitcoin you have, I would get yourself a device today. And keep in mind here, the quote of today's show is the real protest is taking Bitcoin into self-custody. So with that device, what I would be doing is I might even get 2 of them. And the comment here, King says Blockstream Jade is nice and simple. That's kind of what you want, especially if you're somebody who's newer into Bitcoin. You want something that's nice and simple. There's also the Bitkey from Block, which is Jack Dorsey's company. That's something that I would look into getting if you're somebody who just doesn't want any sort of responsibility. Because essentially, you'd have to really screw things up to lose your Bitcoin with Bitkey. So if you are somebody who's not really comfortable in Bitcoin yet, but still wants to make sure that whatever Bitcoin you do have, you're going to have in 5 years from now, I would look into the Bitkey device, which looks like a little rock kind of. And basically how that works is you hold one of the keys, and then there's 2 other, what would you call them? Custodians, I guess, that hold keys on your behalf. So if you did happen to lose your private key, you could still unlock it by connecting the other 2. So it's a 2 out of 3 multi-signature. And even if something happens to your device or your backup phrase, you can still access that Bitcoin. So the trade-off there, everything has trade-offs. The trade-off there is that you're trusting those other 2 custodians that Block uses to hold your keys. And if they did collude, if things went south, there is a chance that they could take your Bitcoin. So, even going back to this comment here, probably the best thing you can do, honestly, is just diversify yourself. Diversify the devices that you're using, diversify the exchanges that you're using, and diversify the wallets that you're using. And kind of what I suggested on the Living in the Future show that we did on Friday was you should maybe think about taking take a look at your Bitcoin stack and say that you take 20% of that stack and move it into like a cold card, a separate one, or just even like a spare wallet. You get those 12 words, you memorize those 12 words. Maybe you bury your steel plate in the yard somewhere. And that's kind of like your nuclear option there. So if everything went to shit, you're still going to have those sats. And one thing you could do is you could do that with your non-KYC sats. Put them into a wallet like that, memorize the key, put it out in the yard. And so if somebody ever did come to your house, whether they're breaking into it or they're the government, you still have that 20% there that's, you're going to have regardless. And if something were to happen to you, like let's say that you got hit by a bus or whatever that is, or you got brain damage and you forgot your private key and you forgot where you put it, it's still only 20% of your stack. So you kind of have to manage your personal risk, your personal situation, and figure out a plan from that. But the thing is you just have to have a plan in place. Because I think the last thing you want to be doing right now is just kind of going through the motions here and hoping that nothing happens to you, hoping nobody breaks into your house, hoping your house doesn't catch on fire, hoping that the government doesn't flip a switch and all of a sudden they're coming after us. Because if you're just hoping that's going to happen, that's how you set yourself up for disaster. So I definitely wouldn't advise somebody doing that with like all their Bitcoin, trying to memorize that private key and hiding it somewhere, because I don't know. There's just so much that can go wrong with that. Even if something were to happen to you and nobody else knows where that is, that's a problem for your family. So just make sure that you get a device. Make sure you get a device. Make sure you order it before things really start to clamp down here on Bitcoiners, because it's going to happen. And you don't want to be on the side of that who's waiting for their device to show up and it just keeps getting seized at the border. We're not there yet, but it's probably going to come, because that's what they're going to do. They can't stop Bitcoin. They're not even going to try to stop Bitcoin because they can't. And these people aren't dumb. So what they're going to do is they're going to make sure that whatever Bitcoin is out there, they want to track it. So they don't want people using self-custody. They don't want people using non-KYC options. They want to know where all the Bitcoin is, who owns it, whenever you move it. That's not what Bitcoin was designed to do, though. So you have to do this yourself. And the one thing I would say is, like, if you own Bitcoin right now and you bought it through a KYC exchange, which I'm guessing would be 99.9% of people, you're already on a list by whoever's making lists. You're on that list, right? So just accept that and now start putting in measures within your own setup that's going to counteract anything that could happen to you. My Path to Fire says, you think things will clamp down when it hits 1 million. I think they're already clamping down. It's going to continue to clamp down. And while that's happening, you have to be taking on the responsibility right now to prepare for that. Oh, are we still live here? Yep. You have to be the one taking on the responsibility. And this is going to be some tough conversations, I think, in your life. So this is what I wanted to say. Write down how much Bitcoin you think you're going to need. Have that as your goal and look at it every single day, whether that's 1 Bitcoin, 2 Bitcoin, half a Bitcoin. Write that down. Also, you need to be making a plan. Get a plan in place in terms of how much Bitcoin you want to be on a phone, how much you want to be on a cold card, how much you want to be in like a doomsday type scenario. Like I said, the 20% there, but you just have to have it on paper, because if you're just trying to wing this whole thing, it's going to end very poorly for you. So you want to have a plan in place, and you want to make sure that your family knows a couple things. Make sure they know where, if something were to happen to you, how they can potentially access your Bitcoin. And the one thing I would suggest is put it on one piece of paper and put, if something were to happen to me, this is what you can do. And if you need any help with this, contact whoever that is, whoever the Bitcoiner is in your life. And make sure you put a little bold, underlined exclamation marks everywhere. Whatever you do, do not show them your backup phrase. Do not show them these 12 words. Nobody else will ever need to know these 12 words except for you. Because as soon as they have these 12 words, they now own our Bitcoin. So don't overcomplicate things. Put it onto one page and make sure that you have somebody that they can get in touch with. And you could even use me, honestly. And I know that there are people out there, I've talked to them before within this community, who have me as their inheritance in case they aren't able to figure it out. This is who you can contact. But make sure there, and I'm telling you, I'm not trying to rip anybody off here. I'm telling you, make sure underneath that you say, under no circumstances should you ever give anybody these 12 words. They'll be able to help you. They'll be able to restore your Bitcoin or our Bitcoin without these 12 words. They can just help you through it. But never give these 12 words to anybody. And if you want to start getting, just think things through, because every situation is going to be different. And the one thing I would say, and this is something I thought about over the weekend as well, is that just get creative with it. Get creative, but don't overcomplicate things. And I think that one way to do, everybody wants to get set up with a multi-signature. That's like the end goal for a lot of people. But the one thing you could do is create your own little multi-signature within your own wallet. So this is what I want you to work towards here. And even if you just do this as a test for the summer, don't put all your Bitcoin into this wallet, but get your wallet, get your 12 words, try to memorize them, try to come up with some sort of phrase or a mnemonic way of doing it that you can memorize these 12 words, look at them every single morning. And with that, you can actually take 4 words from that 12-word phrase and keep them at your house in like a book. You can put 4 words at your parents' house and put 4 words at a friend's house. And you combine those 4 words. That's essentially what a multi-signature setup is, just with a lot less risk, because you're going to be memorizing those 12 words and you're going to be spacing those 12 words out in 3 different locations. And so even if your friend's house got broken into, no, I guess that wouldn't work for that, I guess, right? Would it? I thought I had this pretty well mapped out in my head. But maybe, I guess if somebody were to say break into their house and take their words, they actually couldn't access your Bitcoin. So that I think that regardless of what your setup is, you just have to make sure that you're crystal clear on it and you have it on paper. Don't just be doing this stuff in your head and hoping that things work out. Have this rock solid on a piece of paper. That's the best way you're going to ensure that you have your Bitcoin through anything. And so I guess your backup there would be that you have the 12 words in your head. You memorize them. But if somebody were to break into your friend's house, they would only have those 4 words. They'd have no idea what it is. That could also just be like a secondary kind of like worst case backup thing. The thing is you just have to be thinking about this stuff. And you have to be coming up with ways where you can diversify your wallets, diversify your setup so that you eliminate that single point of failure. That's kind of like your main goal, I think, is to eliminate that single point of failure, right? So whatever that looks like for you. Brennan says, when your device is either air gapped or completely wiped, you'll sleep like a baby. So the air gap, that's what the cold card is. You actually don't have to connect it to your laptop, which is a very important feature, I think. King says, my major concern this weekend has been, I have funds in the ETFs, but the idea that the government can meddle with those funds keeps me up at night. Yep. That's the main drawback of the ETFs. The positive is that anybody can buy them. They're very easy. You can convert your other capital into Bitcoin easily, still get the price movement, still get the purchasing power increase of Bitcoin. But the problem is that you don't control that Bitcoin. Something could happen to the ETF provider, whether they get hacked, whether they lose the Bitcoin. I don't know how well insured it is. I think that there's, I think I saw of all the Bitcoin that Coinbase holds in their custody, they have like $100 million of insurance. So it is stuff you have to keep in mind. The ETFs are great to transition into Bitcoin, but I think that should just kind of be your first step in Bitcoin. And that's why I think that these Hong Kong ETFs that are coming out tomorrow, the in-kind ones, I think that either they'll gain a lot of traction from that, or American ETF providers will start offering the same. Because that's what you need to think about there is if you're somebody who has an ETF, you're getting into Bitcoin that way. As these things continue to happen, as they keep attacking privacy and there's more risk of holding an ETF there, you're going to want to flip that into self-custody Bitcoin. And if you're doing that through an American ETF that is not in kind, whenever you go to sell that ETF, they're going to give you cash, and then you're going to have to buy Bitcoin with that. Whereas an in-kind ETF, like the Hong Kong ones, you sell that ETF, they'll actually send you the Bitcoin into your wallet. So you don't have to go through the fiat rails. You just go straight into cold storage. So I think that is the natural transition for a lot of people here, but they don't really understand the fact that they're going to have to cash out into fiat, and then they're going to have to figure out a way to buy Bitcoin from there. And the problem with that is if Bitcoin does what we believe it's going to do, it's not going to be that easy to, let's say you had $1 million worth of an ETF and all of a sudden that is worth 30 million. and you have to cash that out and you have to buy Bitcoin with that. That's going to be a big problem for people. And when the price is that high, there's going to be a lot of people who are wanting to buy Bitcoin. And so the supply is going to be almost non-existent at that point. So you're going to have to sell your ETF because you're worried you want to take self-custody of that Bitcoin. You have to sell that. They're going to give you dollars for that. And you're going to have to figure out a way to buy that Bitcoin back. So that's not an ideal situation there for anybody. And so I'm not sure what the logistics are in terms of whether we're actually able to buy the Hong Kong ETFs, but that's what you should be looking at if you are somebody who's thinking about an ETF. It is a concern for sure that the government can intervene, that they can get hacked, that they're completely out of your control. Kev, are there things that would cause you to leave Canada? Probably. If Justin Trudeau gets elected again in Canada here, I probably won't be around much longer. And the thing there is that you just have to prepare for this stuff. You have to hope for the best and prepare for the worst. And in the back of my mind, I'm kind of mentally preparing for if something like that happens. See you later. I don't think it'll ever get to that. I don't think it will, where I'm like kind of forced to leave Canada. But you never know. You have to be ready for everything. And a part of that too is like on this plan that you're going to write down, you have to put the potential things that could happen to you and your countermeasures for that. And one of those things is somebody coming to your door and looking for your Bitcoin. But here's what you have to keep in mind is that if you have it done properly, if you have your Bitcoin in self-custody and you memorize those 12 words, there's absolutely nothing that they can do to get that Bitcoin from you, which is a very big handicap of theirs. And if you understand that, then you can start putting your process, you can start putting things in place to get there. Obviously, you're not going to do that with your whole stack of Bitcoin, but you should have some sort of doomsday wallet that you can memorize the words for. And if everything went to shit, you'd still have that. Right? If somebody came to your door and you weren't really ready for this yet, and they said, we know you have Bitcoin, and you tried kind of arguing them, but then they went through your whole house and they found a bunch of these 12 words into your wallet, good chance that Bitcoin's gone. And like I said, this is a very, very small chance of this happening, but it still could happen. We have no idea how desperate they're going to get here. Okay. My Path to Fire says, how are prices in Canada compared to Europe? Your prices in Canada seem to be so high. Yet this doesn't seem to be reflected in the fiat exchange rates. Yeah, I mean, here's the thing about the fiat exchange rates that we're going through right now. It's a shit show. Everything is based on the US dollar. That's what every other country is pegged to. That's how we value everything in the world right now. Everything's pegged to the US dollar. And the US has printed, I forget how much it was. It was a staggering amount in the last 4 years, how much money has been printed and added to the debt. They're approaching $35 trillion worth of debt. And so everything is being valued to that. All countries' currencies are being compared to that US dollar. And we have no idea how many US dollars are out there and how many there's going to be in 5 years from now. So this is going down. The fiat world is going down fast. And the only thing that I don't know is that what happens from there? What happens from there? What happens to Bitcoin from there? I know long term, but short term, I don't know really what's going to happen there. But yes, the food prices, everything is absolutely insane here in Canada right now. I don't know how people are getting by. I don't. And yes, this is a great point from Rock and Roll. This is something that you should be thinking about, I think. Don't dive into this, but start learning things. And that's why this is the summer of Bitcoin, because I want you to spend this time, spend the summer here, making a plan and putting things in place so that you're very well protected against anything. And passphrases are a part of that. So with the passphrase, it actually creates a brand new wallet. And you can set up like a decoy wallet essentially. And I'm not going to say too much on here on the public show in terms of how it all works and how to do it. Not the place for it, but look into passphrases, because you can essentially set up a decoy wallet, add a passphrase, create a new wallet, hold the majority of your Bitcoin in the passphrase wallet. But then if somebody got access to your cold card, they would just see the decoy aspect of that. So something we talk about in Living in the Future is the passphrase, and it basically removes your single point of failure there. Stamp seeds, Jordan, not paper. Yes, big time. It's a great point. If you have any significant amount of Bitcoin, you should have a steel plate for your backup phrase. Do you know how easy it is to lose paper, for paper to burn, for paper to get wet? You never want to leave your Bitcoin on paper. You definitely never want to have your backup phrase on a device, whether that's your laptop, your phone. You never even want to put it in front of a camera, in my opinion. But you definitely want to, paper is a good first step, but you want to get that onto steel however you can. When you will be able to borrow dollars on the, oh, you guys are having a conversation there, I guess, back and forth. How did Trudeau get reelected? We're going to try to keep things non-political here today and forever. The thing about the politicians and stuff is, like, I think my message has been pretty consistent with it. I don't think there's any politician who can turn the ship around right now. We're never going to vote our way into like a normal world. This is going to happen. This is a revolution that's happening right now. And it's, as we started the show with, the real protest is taking Bitcoin into self-custody. Governments are going to change. Policies are going to change. You want to make sure that your Bitcoin is not going to change. And so don't worry about all the bullshit. Don't worry about the noise, the day-to-day stuff. We know where this is going to. And so you need to focus your energy on how to set up yourself, your security, so that you have that Bitcoin on the other side of this whole thing. That's all you need to worry about. Don't worry about the price. Everything is going to fall in comparison to Bitcoin forever, because it's a scarce asset with a fixed supply. It's not my opinion. It's not my prediction. It's going to happen. So don't worry. Don't get caught up in the bullshit. Focus on making a plan for yourself, putting things in place, and sticking to that plan. Whatever Bitcoin you do have today, you want to make sure you have that in 10 years from now. And that's going to take some time. It's going to take some investment. That's going to be an investment of your time or an investment in hiring somebody to help you through that. Right? Yeah, I'm going to second this one. There was no chance that that was a legitimate election. And the thing about that too is there's lots of narratives that people like in the world. And one of the narratives is like people from the prairies here in Canada, like in the western part of the world, or Canada, they all think that that's why he was elected again. Trudeau was elected because of the East, because of the cities, because of Toronto, because of Ottawa. It's their fault. They're the ones voting him in. So it's kind of like out of our control. There's nothing we can do. We're just going to be pissed off about it and complain all the time. That's not what happened. Maybe the first election, but the last two elections was not the case. Rock and Roll says, I trust no one. No ETF banks, no micro strategy stock. That's why self-custody the majority of my wealth. Yep. What was that quote we had? My Path to Fire says, who believes in elections? What was that quote we had a couple weeks ago? Voting is like the equivalent of writing a letter to Santa for adults. That's what it was. Voting is the equivalent to writing a letter to Santa for adults. I agree with that. Carrie is in the house. Good morning, Carrie. Great rising to you as well. Biden was 100% elected the same way. That's exactly what's happening here. And it will continue to happen. Don't ever expect that we're going to vote our way out of this ever. We're not going to. So just prepare the best way you can. Okay, so here's the other thing. This is kind of how I want to end the show today, because we're almost at an hour today. I didn't really know how long the show was going to be today, and I probably missed a few things, but that's okay. So what I want you to do is I want you to start earning Bitcoin, however that is, whatever that looks like to you. And I'm going to make an offer to you today, because I really want people to start taking this stuff seriously. And when people hear earning Bitcoin, I think they think that they need to set up a business, have a website, get a corporation, go through all this bullshit that we're used to having to go through in the fiat world. Pay advertising, pay a brand or a graphic designer to do a logo. There's so much things that people think they have to do before they can start earning Bitcoin. And so what I'm going to propose to you today is I want you to think on this. I want you to think about how you can start earning Bitcoin. You don't have to start your own business. You don't have to leave your job, but think about what it is that you can do that could earn you Bitcoin. What kind of value can you provide to people out there that they would pay you in Bitcoin? And think about Bitcoiners, because that's who we're going to be basically targeting here, other Bitcoiners. Because part of this is we have to start focusing on the circular economy. And I know that's a buzzword in Bitcoin, and I haven't talked about it in a while here, that exact word, but a circular economy is when you're buying and selling things with other Bitcoiners, and you're completely off of that old system, completely away from it. So no matter what's happening there in terms of Trudeau, in terms of Biden, in terms of the banks, the better your network of Bitcoiners is, the less reliance you're going to have on that old system. So what I'm going to propose to you today is I want to start, for the next little while here, as long as this lasts, essentially, I want you to send me either your business or your website or whatever it is that you do that you would be willing to do for Bitcoin, for other Bitcoiners. So if you build websites and you don't really want to start your own business, whatever, if you just want to build websites at night and take Bitcoin for that, let me know. And every day on the show, I'm going to go through one. I'm going to do like a Bitcoin business spotlight here for free, because I really just want people to start thinking about how they can be earning Bitcoin. And so let's say you have an existing business. Let's say that you sell sunglasses. You import them from India, you sell them to people. That's your business. I don't want you to be too worried about like setting up all the infrastructure for it before you start accepting Bitcoin. Our company, King Golf, essentially what we did is we put it out there. If you want to pay in Bitcoin, let me know and I'll send you an invoice. If you're like a small business like that, you can kind of do things that aren't really fully into your infrastructure yet before you're ready for that. And so I just want you to start doing it. Don't think about it, just start doing it. So if you have a business, if you want to start earning Bitcoin, if you have anything that you can do that you can add value for other people at night and you want to start accepting Bitcoin as payment, I'm going to do every single day on here for free one daily business spotlight, Bitcoin spotlight. And maybe we'll gather kind of like a little resource for people. Maybe not though. Maybe people don't want their information to be held anywhere. So we'll just go through one per day. I'm going to spotlight the business. You don't have to say your name. You don't have to do anything like that. Just come up with an anonymous name and say, my name is Brian, and I'm going to start doing bookkeeping for businesses, and I'd like to be paid in Bitcoin. That's it. And so we'll share it on the show here, and you can say how people can get in touch with you. You don't have to set up a website. You don't have to connect all your Lightning nodes to it. Just say, this is what I'm doing. And if people want to hire you, they can just send you Bitcoin over Lightning. You don't have to put all this stuff in place. Just start doing it. Just start doing it. And I'm willing to use this, what we have going here, to help promote other people who want to start earning Bitcoin. So with that, if you are somebody who falls in that category, and you don't have to be a business owner, whatever skills that you have, whatever value you can provide to other people, offer that out there, and hopefully we'll find some people within this network here who are going to be willing to pay you in Bitcoin, and just start there. Start there. And then if you decide that it's working and you want to keep doing it, then maybe you invest some Bitcoin and you start promoting to Bitcoiners, and then you kind of slowly start doing it more and more. But the thing is that you have to just do it. And even if you only make 10,000 sats doing one job for somebody, at least you went through the process there. You figured out how to find people. You figured out how to invoice people in Bitcoin. You met a new connection. And like I said, the stronger your Bitcoin network is, the less reliance you're going to have on the old system. So if you have a business or you want to start earning Bitcoin, I want you to send me a message or an email. All of my information is in the description here. Email's in there, website's in there. Just shoot me an email and tell me whatever you want to, and whatever you want other people to know. And I'm going to do this for free until we run out of businesses and people to talk about here. Because this is what we want to be focused on in Bitcoin. We want to be focused on the self-custody, keeping our Bitcoin, and earning Bitcoin. We don't want to get caught up in the other bullshit. That's not the point of this channel, right? And I think that's why people are here. There's enough channels talking about the fucking charts and whatever else is going on in the world. Who cares? Our goal here is to get as much Bitcoin as possible. That's it. And protect it. So with that, we're over an hour. There you go. Carrie, send me find a way to get a hold of me today. We have all my stuff's in the description. Shoot me an email, shoot me a message. And every day I'm going to talk about one business on here. And if you want to include your website on there, I'll bring it up on the show even. But if you don't want to, if you just want to say, my name is Joe, I want to start designing chicken coops for Bitcoiners. I want to take 10,000 sats per chicken coop design. Easy. You don't need a website. You don't need a business license. You don't need any of this. That's very old system thinking. Just start doing it. That's it. Just start doing it. And I want to help you with it. So Kev says, do you think Pierre Prelivier is a real Bitcoiner? I don't know. I don't really care either, honestly. I don't care if he is. I don't trust any politicians, including Pierre Prelivier. Not relying on them, not relying on politicians to get us out of this mess. It has to be by us. And that's why I want to take initiatives like this, because it's important. This is the only way that we move forward here. Yes, we don't need any permissions. Just stop thinking like that. Stop thinking that you have to set all this up and get everything into place before you can finally start accepting Bitcoin. Just think about what it is that you do. Think about how you can add value to people. Get in touch with me, and you can start earning Bitcoin instantly. All you do is copy your receive address. You tell them how much they owe, and they can send it to you. The world is so connected right now. You could be doing this in Ireland and helping somebody in, what was that first country we had in here? Uzbekistan. Everybody's connected. We have Bitcoin now. We don't have to worry about exchange rates. We don't have to worry about all the other bullshit. Just start doing things and charging Bitcoin for it. He's got a guy who likely handles it and will rug Pierre. So Kev says, when do you think large companies, top 100, will embrace Bitcoin? Soon. I think Michael Saylor was actually doing a conference. MicroStrategy was putting on a conference that was targeted towards other companies, and he was going through their strategy of how they got to where they are today. But the one thing I do know is that, so it'll happen, and it'll probably happen fast, and it might happen before we even know about it, because there's usually a delay between companies making decisions and then having to report it to their shareholders. So it'll happen before we know it. But the one thing I would say there is that there's not going to be any countries or companies who are going to be able to replicate what MicroStrategy has done here. It's too late. It's too late. They won't be able to do it. So with that, that's my offer to you. Free offer, zero charge. Whatever it is you do, if you want to start charging Bitcoin, shoot me an email and we'll go through one of those every day and hopefully get your message out there in front of Bitcoiners, the Bitcoiners who watch the show. It's all about we the people. Can always count on rock and roll for some motivational speeches before we go here. Carrie says, I love seeing the Bitcoin communities that are popping up and growing. Places we can go and solely use Bitcoin, that interconnected web is connecting and filling in. Yes. And usually on the show, I try to show every time there's a new video of somebody paying for things in Bitcoin. I usually show it on here. This morning, when I was going through the Bitcoin news, when I was going through the timeline, there was probably 5 or 6 videos of businesses accepting Bitcoin and somebody going in to buy a burger or a beer, or I think one of them was Pubkey in New York. But yes, this is all happening right now, fast. And it's going to keep happening even faster. So yeah, I just kind of got overwhelmed with the amount of videos there were today. I was like, I don't know which one to choose. But the point is, there were 6 new videos out there of businesses accepting Bitcoin and people paying for things in Bitcoin. Am I on Nostr? Of course I'm on Nostr. You can find my public key also in the description. Everything you need to know about me is in the description, except my birthday. So anyways, let's get the heck out of here. I hope everybody has a great Monday. Stay positive, stay focused, stay calm, cheerful, and focus your energy on the right things. Don't worry too much about what could happen. Prepare for it, but focus your energy on preparing for it and just earning as many sats as possible. And if you're somebody who, you don't think that's possible, then go the other route. Do things to earn fiat and trade that in for Bitcoin. Whether that's cutting grass all summer, whether that's selling things around your house. One thing I do want to do this summer is actually, I want to start doing a Saturday market. It's like a garage sale on Nostr where people can just kind of post their pictures of whatever they're selling and the price in sats and use a hashtag like Saturday market. I know that there's some in-person ones, but I think it's also doable on Nostr. So I think that that's something I want to launch. If anybody would be interested in that, same thing. You're just earning fiat and converting into Bitcoin that way. But either way, I think you should be setting up things where you can earn Bitcoin. I think that's going to be the next big thing in Bitcoin. Yeah, I think that it'd be very easy to organize. I mean, there's a Zapathon on Nostr that was just kind of like grassroots launched, and every Friday, I think it is at 4:00, there's a Zapathon on there. But if you had like every Saturday, you just ran from like a couple hours a day, everybody's posting their items on Nostr, just post a couple pictures, the price in sats, how to get a hold of you, and then the hashtag. And then you can just go on a Nostr and search that hashtag and you'd see everything that's for sale on there. Okay, well, Carrie, get in touch with me. Let's try to organize this for the summer. I think that'd be pretty cool because I have a bunch of stuff that I would like to sell on here that I just don't use anymore, and people actually could use it and pay me in Bitcoin for it. So there you go. Focus on the positive. Everybody, have an amazing day. Shout out to people on YouTube and especially people on zap.stream. I set a new goal on there for a new house in 2035 for 500,000 sats. I love that you can just set up goals like that just randomly. But there you go. Get in touch with me. The first one we'll be doing is tomorrow for the new, I don't know, I just like doing these segments. I think it keeps people interested. So, and it helps people. That's what you want to do. The more value you add, the more value you get back. Just the number one rule in life. And you can't really fight it. So we'll try this for the 3rd time. Have yourselves an amazing Monday today. I appreciate everybody for being here. And we'll see you right back here first thing tomorrow morning.